Hello everyone, tonight I want to tell you a story that turns on one small sound. A late call. A strange pause. And a single word that can split a life in two. Stay with me, because Keiko Tanaka does not know it yet, but this is the moment everything she trusts begins to come apart. It is late, the kind of brittle hour when the apartment feels too quiet between passing cars and rain against the window. Keiko stands barefoot on her kitchen tile, phone on speaker, staring at the dark sink like it might steady her. 10 minutes earlier, Maximilian Hunt had texted in a rush. "Call me now. Please. It is bad." He had spent the week talking about a business emergency, about invoices frozen, payroll hanging, one short-term loan that would save everything. $50,000 by Friday, then he would pay her back as soon as the account cleared. Now the screen glows on the counter. Buzz. Click. Keiko draws in a breath. Max? For a second, nothing. Just apartment hum. Rain. That low pulse in her ears. Then a woman answers. Calm. Awake. Not confused. Hello? Keiko frowns. I'm sorry. I think I have Maximilian's phone. Another small pause. Not surprise. Not panic. Measured silence. The woman says, "This is my husband's phone." Who is this? Keiko's hand slips on the counter edge. Your husband? Yes, the woman says. I'm Maximilian's wife. The word lands in everything and Keiko goes still. Wife. She does not gasp right away. That comes a beat later, ugly and shallow, like her body is late to the news. Her first thought is defensive and absurd. Wrong number. Sister playing a joke. A client. Some explanation that will let the floor stop tilting. But the voice is too settled for that. Too lived in. Keiko hears herself ask, thin and sharp, who is this, exactly? The woman gives no name at first. Only another question. And who are you to my husband, calling this late at night? Keiko opens her mouth, then closes it. Rain taps harder against the glass. The phone sits between them like a live wire. And in the stunned silence that follows, the frantic $50,000 emergency suddenly feels less like a crisis, and more like a trap. An hour earlier, before that woman answered his phone, Keiko had still been trying to make the numbers feel noble. Temporary. Contained. Something done for love, not desperation. She stood barefoot in her kitchen, one hand on the cold counter, the other gripping her phone while Maximilian's messages stacked up in bright, pleading bursts. He had never sounded careless with her before. That was part of why this worked on her. For 11 months, he had been measured. Attentive. The kind of man who remembered her client presentation days and sent good luck voice notes before sunrise. The kind who asked if she had eaten, then actually listened to the answer. So when he said he was in trouble, Keiko did not hear scam. She heard the man who brought her soup when she had the flu. Ping. Baby, I hate asking you this. Ping. If payroll bounces Friday, people get hurt. Then the voice note. Low, strained, intimate. Keiko, I'm handling 3 fires at once. My investor went silent, legal is threatening to freeze the account, and I just need a bridge. Just until Monday. Please. I would never ask if it wasn't life or death for the business. She pressed the phone to her ear again and paced the length of her apartment. 5 steps to the window. Turn. 5 steps back. Outside, the late weekday rush dragged under her building in wet tires and impatient horns. Inside, the room felt too warm. $50,000. She said the number once under her breath, as if hearing it aloud might make it absurd enough to reject. Instead, it landed heavy and real. Her savings account. The one built slowly, transfer by transfer, after years of telling herself safety had to be funded. "Why can't your bank release anything?" she asked when he called again. A sigh came through the line. Then another. "Because legal flagged the wrong transfer. It's bureaucratic nonsense. I can fix it, but not by Friday. And if payroll misses, I lose staff. If the landlord files, I lose the space too. Keiko, this is me asking you to help me survive one bad weekend." He sounded exhausted. Humiliated, even. That made her soften more than the words did. She opened her banking app. Closed it. Opened it again. "I can maybe move savings." The sentence hung there. She heard her own pulse. He went quiet for half a beat, then rushed to reassure her, too smoothly. "Only if you're comfortable. I swear, first thing Monday, you get every cent back." That was the moment the unease sharpened. Not enough to stop her. Not yet. Just enough to make her ask one question too many, and soon, far too early. The next morning, Keiko called him from her car before she could talk herself out of it. The cabin still held the cold from the night. Traffic hissed past her windows. Her seatbelt pressed hard across her chest, as if her body already knew this would go badly. Maximilian answered on the second ring. Too bright. Too ready. "Hey, beautiful. I was just about to call you." She hated that the endearment still worked on her for half a second. "Can I ask you something simple?" she said. A pause. Then a laugh that sounded careful. "Of course." Keiko glanced at the bank app still open on her phone, then at the red brake lights ahead of her. "What's the company account name?" He answered quickly, but not cleanly. "It's under the parent structure right now. We had to consolidate after the last vendor issue, so the operating account is being reclassified. It's messy, but temporary." That was not an answer. She felt heat rise into her face anyway, as if she were the one being difficult. "Okay," she said. "Then who exactly am I wiring to?" He launched in harder this time. "Cash flow timing. Receivables. A bridge transfer. A compliance hold. Merchant processor delays." He said the words with the smooth confidence of someone tossing gravel into water so she could not see the bottom. Keiko gripped the steering wheel. "Max, I'm not asking for a pitch. I'm asking whose name is on the account." His voice changed. Not angry. Injured. "Keiko, do you hear yourself right now?" She blinked. "I'm trying to understand. And I'm trying not to lose everything by Friday." His breath sharpened into her ear. "I came to you because I trust you. I thought you knew who I am." A message tone chimed through her speakers. Then another. He was texting while he talked. "I do know you," she said, too quickly, defensive before she even understood why. "I just need basic details." "You think I'd scam you?" he asked. She said nothing. He filled it instantly. "After all this time? After every night I stayed up with you when your dad was in the hospital? After I told you I was ashamed to even ask?" The traffic inched forward. Keiko moved with it automatically. Her mouth had gone dry. "Don't turn this into me being cruel," she said, and heard how weak it sounded. "I'm not," he replied, talking faster now. "I'm saying this delay is exactly what I warned you about. If the transfer misses the window, I'm done. Payroll bounces. Contracts die." And honestly, he let the word hang. "Don't you trust me?" She closed her eyes for one short, humiliating beat. When she opened them, another text from him flashed across her screen. "Need to know now. Can you send by noon?" His voice had softened again. "Baby, just send it to the account I texted. I'll explain everything after the crisis passes." Keiko looked at the unfamiliar account name when it arrived. It was not his. Not the company name he had used with her. Not anything she recognized. And instead of slowing down, he started pressing harder. By 11:47, Keiko was standing at a bank kiosk with Maximilian's last text burning on her screen. "Need to know now. Can you send by noon?" The branch was crowded with lunch hour bodies and low voices. A printer coughed somewhere behind her. Keys clicked. Someone laughed too loudly at a teller window. Every ordinary sound made her feel more exposed. She told herself she was doing something brave. Temporary. Practical. He had said business emergency so many times the phrase no longer sounded suspicious. It sounded urgent. It sounded like loyalty. She entered the amount once. Stared at all the zeros. Deleted it. Entered it again. $50,000. Her palms were damp against the touchscreen. She pulled up the account details from his text and typed carefully, afraid of making a clerical mistake that would slow him down. Then the receiving name populated in a neat gray line. Not Maximilian Hunt. Not the company name he had repeated to her on the phone. A different name entirely. Keiko blinked and looked again, as if one more second would make it rearrange itself into something familiar. It did not. Her stomach went cold first. Then hot. She stepped out of line and called him. He picked up on the second ring. Did you send it? Keiko kept her voice low. Why is the account under another name? A beat. Tiny. But there. It's my operations guy, he said. Too fast. I told you, everything's locked up on our end. This is just where we're routing emergency funds. You didn't tell me that. Keiko, please. His tone dropped into that wounded softness he used when he wanted her to feel cruel. I'm standing in the middle of a disaster here. I don't have time for this level of panic. This level of panic. The words hit her harder than they should have. As if she were the problem. As if she were embarrassing him. A teller glanced over. Keiko turned her back and lowered her head. Then send me something, she said. An invoice. A company email. Anything with that name on it. He exhaled hard into the phone. Unbelievable. After everything, you think I'm stealing from you? She hated that her first instinct was to defend herself. No. I'm just trying to understand. Then trust me. There it was again. Not an answer. A command dressed as intimacy. Keiko looked back at the screen. $50,000. A stranger's name. Her own reflection ghosted faintly over the transfer form, tense and pale and suddenly foolish. Her thumb hovered over confirm. Her heartbeat climbed into her throat. Then she hit cancel. The form vanished. Just like that. For one long second she could not move. No music in her head. No thought. Only the printer behind her, the murmur of the bank, and the shame arriving late and messy. Maybe he was telling the truth. Maybe she had just failed him at the worst possible moment. Or maybe she had almost handed $50,000 to a man who had run out of real explanations. Keiko ended the call without another word, walked out into the hard noonlight, and stood on the sidewalk shaking. By the time she opened her phone again, she was no longer looking for reassurance. She was looking for someone who could find out who that account really belonged to. The investigator's office was on the third floor of a tired brick building that smelled faintly of dust and burned coffee. The afternoon outside had gone dim and metallic. Inside, the air conditioner hummed with a dry, relentless chill that made Keiko keep her coat on. She sat across from a gray laminate desk and watched the investigator open a manila folder as if he were handling something infectious. He did not ease into it. He slid the first sheet toward her. A property record. Then an address history. Then a utility bill in the name Maximilian Hunt, tied to a suburban house she had never heard of. Keiko frowned at it first, almost annoyed. That could be old. The investigator nodded once. I checked that. Another page. Current voter registration. Same address. Then a vehicle registration. Same address again. A single low note seemed to gather under each fact in her mind. Not drama. Wait. The investigator placed a photo on the desk. A woman in a winter coat stood beside Maximilian on a school sidewalk. They were close without trying to look close. Familiar in the way strangers never are. 3 children stood in front of them with backpacks and awkward smiles. Keiko stared too long before she understood what she was looking at. "No," she said, but it came out thin. That could be his sister. Or, I don't know, cousins. The investigator slid a second photo beside it. Same woman. Same man. Different day. One child on his shoulders. One holding his hand. The youngest pressed against his leg. Then he set down a certified copy of a marriage record. "Maximilian Hunt and Dana Hunt," he said. "Filed 11 years ago." Keiko's mouth opened, then closed. Her face stayed still for one stubborn second, as if her body had refused the message. "People separate. They appear to be cohabiting," he said. "School emergency contacts list both parents at the same address. Insurance records show a shared policy. Recent grocery deliveries go there under his card." He touched the top page with 2 fingers. "This is his household." Keiko exhaled hard and looked away at the blank wall. For a moment she hated the investigator for sounding so calm. Then she hated herself for needing him to be wrong. Her eyes dropped back to the school photo. Maximilian's hand was resting lightly at the small of that woman's back. It was an ordinary gesture. That was what made it unbearable. She gave a short, ugly laugh. 3 kids. The investigator said nothing. All those nights. Her voice roughened. All those excuses about calls and travel and emergencies. She pressed her thumb into the edge of the desk until it hurt. The bank account mismatch had felt suspicious. This felt architectural. Built. Maintained. Lived in. "Did he use my money before?" she asked. "I can't prove every source yet," the investigator said. "But I can tell you this pattern is practiced." Keiko swallowed. Shame arrived late, hot and stupid. Then anger rose behind it, cleaner than grief. She gathered the copies with both hands. "He wants 50,000 by Friday," she said. "Good. Then he's going to answer when I call." Keiko did not cry again. That surprised her more than the photographs had. She expected another collapse, another hot wave of humiliation, but what settled over her instead was a narrow, useful calm. The investigator spread the documents across her dining table with methodical hands. A marriage record. School pickup photos. A utility bill with Maximilian Hunt's name printed beside an address he had sworn was only a short-term rental. Under the lamp, every page looked painfully ordinary. The lamp buzzed. A laptop fan whispered. Keiko watched the investigator type and felt her anger harden into shape. "Do not accuse too early," he said. "Let him build his own wall first." Keiko folded her arms. "I already did that once." "Yes," he said gently. "Tonight, we do it correctly." They planned it like a business call, which almost made her laugh. Maximilian had trained her to speak in urgency, in deadlines, in rescue. Fine. She would use his language back on him. She sent a text that read, "I can move on the 50 tonight, but I need to hear your voice before I wire anything." His reply came in less than 30 seconds. "Thank you. I'm in and out of meetings. Call me at 8. Of course, she thought. He would answer money faster than truth. At 7:58, she set her phone on a stack of books so the investigator could monitor the recording levels. He tapped the backup camera once. The small click sounded surgical. Keiko hated that her hands were shaking now, not from heartbreak but from something pettier and uglier. Part of her still wanted him to produce a miracle explanation. A widow. A sister's children. Some absurd administrative mix-up. The thought embarrassed her even as it appeared. 8 o'clock. She pressed call. He answered on the second ring, breathless and warm. Keiko. Thank God. I'd been worried sick. She let him talk. The frozen account. The supplier. Friday. Payroll. His voice moved with practiced pressure, every sentence designed to make her feel chosen and responsible. The investigator wrote one word on a legal pad and turned it toward her. Stall. Keiko asked for routing details. Maximilian gave her a different account than before. She heard the lie before she understood it. That changed again, she asked. A temporary hold, he said quickly. I explained that. No, he had not. Her pulse jumped. The revenge pulse in her ears matched the quiet thrum of the room. She looked at the photo nearest her hand. 3 children in school uniforms. Maximilian carrying a lunch bag. She inhaled. Then stopped. Max, she said softly. Before I send anything, I need to ask you one thing. How are your kids? The line went thin. So thin Keiko could hear the small electric hiss of speakerphone and the dry click of Maximilian swallowing. For one wild second, she almost wished she had not said it. Not because she doubted the truth. Because saying it made the truth enter the room. What did you say? He asked. His voice had changed. The warmth was gone. No pet names. No soft panic about payroll or vendors or Friday. Just a man buying time. Keiko looked at the investigator's notes spread across her table. Bank screenshots. Property records. School pickup photos. A family calendar caught through a windshield. Her own handwriting sat in the margin beside one image, pressed so hard the pen had scored the paper. I said, she answered, steady now, how are your kids? A chair scraped on his end. Then silence. She stood without meaning to. Her knee hit the table. A glass trembled. She kept her eyes on the photographs because if she pictured his face, she might break into something ugly and useless. Keiko, listen to me, he said. You are confused. I can explain whatever you think you found. Good, she said. Explain the wife who answered your phone. That landed hard. He inhaled fast. That was not my wife. Then who called herself Mrs. Hunt? Nothing. Keiko heard her own heartbeat. Heard the refrigerator hum. Heard the awful calm that comes right before anger stops shaking and turns precise. I hired an investigator after you changed the account number, she said. Then changed it again. He found your house. He found the deed. He found your wedding date. He found school records connected to your address. She looked down at the page. Evan is 12. Maya is 9. Lucas is 6. She let the silence sit. No denial came. Only breathing. Too close to the receiver. Ragged now. When he finally spoke, it was smaller. You had me followed? The nerve of it almost made her laugh. You asked me for $50,000. I was going to tell you. Defensive. Quick. Wrong. It is complicated. We are basically separated. It is not what it looks like. Keiko shut her eyes. There it was. The coward's doorway. Not a confession. A soft focus lie. Do not insult me twice, she said. I do love you, he snapped, as if volume could make that sentence stand up. What we had was real. Her throat tightened. For one humiliating beat, grief hit before fury. She hated that. Hated that some part of her still reacted to his voice like it belonged somewhere near her. Then he ruined even that. "If you just send the money tonight, I can fix this," he said. Keiko stared at the photos. The lunch bag. The uniforms. The life he had kept running while he begged her to fund his emergency. "No," she said. He started talking over her. Faster now. Blaming timing. Pressure. His business partner. Her misunderstanding. The PI. The account hold. The records. Every lie colliding with the next until his voice lost its shape. Keiko pulled the phone closer and spoke into the wreckage. "Your wife answered, Maximilian." He stopped. The silence after that was complete. Then, somewhere on his end, a woman's voice asked a question too muffled to make out. Keiko felt the last thread snap inside her. A second later, the line went dead. The next week arrived without drama. That was the first strange mercy. No late-night calls. No pleading voicemail. No new number lighting up her screen. Keiko sat in a quiet coffee shop near her office, with her phone face up beside a paper cup gone warm, and opened the folder she had made for him. Screenshots. Bank details. Voice notes. Promises. Pet names that now looked mass-produced. She read them in order, almost clinically at first, as if neatness could keep humiliation contained. Then she hit one message where he had written, "You always make me feel safe," and she let out a short sound that was almost a laugh and almost not. It was defensive. Bitter. A little ugly. She hated that sound coming out of her. Her phone buzzed. The PI had sent a final summary. Keiko opened it and read slowly. There were no grand flourishes in his language. Just dates, overlaps, common tactics. Multiple women contacted through the same pattern. Similar urgency. Similar intimacy accelerated too fast. Requests framed as temporary rescue, never a gift. Different accounts. Different explanations. One note stood out: probable repeated targeting behavior, not isolated deception. Keiko stared at that line until the words lost shape. "So I wasn't special," she said under her breath. The thought landed wrong the second it left her mouth. Of course, that was not the point. The point was that she had almost joined a list of women maneuvered into saving a man who had built his life out of compartments and pressure. Still, some bruised part of her had wanted her pain to mean something singular. She resented herself for that. She took a sip of coffee. It had gone cold. Then she called the PI. He answered on the second ring. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "You saw the report." "I did." A beat passed. Coffee cups touched saucers around her. A grinder started, then stopped. "I almost sent it," Keiko said. She went quiet after that. The silence felt heavy enough to set on the table between them. When she spoke again, her voice was flatter. "If his wife hadn't answered, I might have wired $50,000 to a stranger." To someone counting on urgency, the PI said. That matters. He was using pressure to outrun verification. Keiko scrolled through old messages as he talked. She saw the rhythm now. Affection, vulnerability, praise, emergency. Affection, vulnerability, praise, emergency. It was so obvious that it made her want to throw the phone across the room. Instead, she asked, "Do you think they know about each other?" "I don't know," he said. "But I don't think you're the only one who was meant to stay confused." that stayed with her. Not the only one he lied to. Not the only one he rushed. Not the only one he tried to corner before daylight could get in. She closed the folder. Then she blocked his number, his email, and the 2 backup accounts he had used when she stopped replying before. After that, she forwarded every receipt, screenshot, and report into a private archive and labeled it simply, "Keep." Outside, traffic moved through wet streets in a thin gray light. Nothing had been returned to her, exactly. Trust did not reassemble because the truth had finally shown its face. But the money was still hers. The proof was still hers. And the story he had tried to trap her inside was over. Some endings do not feel triumphant. They feel clean. They feel earned. And sometimes that is the sharper kind of victory. Thanks for listening. The sting in stories like this is never just the lie itself, but how ordinary the lie tries to look before it breaks.